Hello gamers, welcome back, or in case you are new here, I'm Enkaziel, and in this video I want to talk about a few tips and other information that I hope will help you in your adventures in Throne and Liberty. I will start with something that I think is very important in gaming nowadays, and it applies to way more than just Throne and Liberty. Try to have fun with everything you do in games you play. A wiser, older gentleman told me some years back the only race in MMOs is the race to burnout, and I have adopted this mindset. I apologize for hijacking the first point to talk about this, but I strongly advocate for playing games for entertainment, and I believe we as gamers don't mention it enough. Everyone makes guides on how to do something the fastest, and often they forget about the fun you can have along the way. Finishing the fastest is not always the best outcome, especially when talking about having fun. You can ask a girl about it if you want to know more. That being said, let's move on. The first thing you'll have to choose is the server you play on. I highly recommend playing on an early access server because of the way the Action House works and the way content gets unlocked on those servers. I have a very short video going into more details. If you want to watch it, I will link it in the description of the video. Following this choice, you will make a character, and at the beginning of the tutorial island, you will be given the option to select two weapons that will define your class. This is not a permanent choice. You will be able to change the weapon you use, however I recommend taking a little bit of your time here and doing a couple of things. First, I recommend figuring out which weapon combinations work for you. The game will give you a set of each weapon, and there will be a few dummies for you to attack nearby, so you can figure out which weapon clicks with you. The reason why I recommend making this choice early in the game is because it takes a little bit of time to get used to your weapons, and you'll also be using various resources to upgrade both your equipment and skills. So the sooner you settle on a choice, the smoother your progression will be. I could right now give you a tier list of which classes are better and in which content, but I will not, and I will strongly advise against it. Unless you are willing to pay to win ridiculous amounts of money, this game will take months to progress. The balance will inevitably change. If you pick weapon combinations that are not fun to you just because they are a bit stronger right now, you will put yourself at a massive loss in the future when the balance changes. Secondly, I advise editing your controls and user interface. If you are using the classic tab targeting mode, the default controls probably work for you. They seem to be very standard, just like every other MMO that uses the classic tab targeting. However, I found that using action combat camera and playing with default controls is absolutely terrible. For me, the combat felt way better once I sorted them out. I know full well you might not want to do this at the beginning of the game. You just started a new game and you probably want to play as soon as possible. So while I recommend making these changes at the beginning, they can always be done at a later date. I'm just saying that if you have the patience to do these changes in the beginning, they will most likely improve your experience. Alright, next let's talk about quests. There are a few types of quests. Purple ones called adventure codexes. This will be split into two types: your main quest that follows the story, and the appendix quests that teach you about the systems in the game. The main quests will reward you with the most experience in game, so if you want to progress faster, those are the ones you want to focus on. Next, we have blue quests called exploration quests. This will unlock various progression elements such as amitoys, morphs, shapeshifts, and in general give you upgrade materials. Then you have yellow ones called resistance contracts. These are quests that you pick up from a quest board, and you can do them while completing your other quests in those zones. These provide you with experience and resistance coins, which can be used for some goodies later on. You get 10 resistance contracts a day, and they can stack up to 60, so don't let them overstack. Make sure that you purchase 5 keys from the contract merchant every day. They will be useful later on. If you ever get bottlenecked by the level requirements for the main quest, you can do this as well as open world events. The last type of quest are green ones, which are guild quests, and there are server milestones. Both of these are community-driven quests, and you will most likely contribute to them organically. That being said, sometimes quests will not show up on the map. These can be very frustrating. To make them appear, you will need to favorite them. They are disabled by default to avoid clutter, but enabling the favorite marker on them will make your life much easier and help you keep track of what you need to do. If you want to do quests in an area and they are not showing up in your quest log, that is because you didn't interact with the waystone. So every time you enter a new area, your first objective should be to interact with the waystones. This will reveal the map for you and enable the quests from that area. Next, let's talk about some functional elements. First, we will start with consumables. Consumables are extremely important in this game. The Sundaries vendor in town will be your best friend, and you can purchase World Tree leaves for extremely cheap. You should always have enough of them. These leaves will allow your pet to heal you on a 6-second cooldown. You'll also be able to buy other consumables like Stellarite, which is a consumable stone that will increase your damage by 10%, and potions and other goodies. Same goes for other shops like Guild Shop. I recommend checking them out to be familiar with what they sell. Since I mentioned the Guild Shop, you will probably want to join a guild as soon as possible. Even if you do not fully intend to play with them, join a guild that allows for that. Once you are a member of a guild, you will gain various guild benefits and you will be able to exchange Solent or other resources for guild coins. This will provide you with a guild currency to spend in the guild shop. Keep in mind you can only donate once an hour and it can stack up to 10 times, so make sure to check on the donations daily. These donations are extremely small, so do them regularly. For example, it takes 800 Solent for each donation and you end up having millions of them. So do not worry about it requiring precious resources. Next, I will talk about a few more advanced tips. So let's start with skills. As you progress through the game, you will end up obtaining a ridiculous amount of skill books from various sources. There will be enough to upgrade most of your things to a very decent level, only missing maybe 2 or 3 levels. Your objective is to upgrade your skills up to purple first, and then slowly upgrade them all the way to level 2, 3 and so on. This will be the most effective way to upgrade things, as they basically have diminishing returns. For example, I made a mistake and upgraded one of my purple skills to level 5, and for the same amount of books, I could have probably upgraded 5 skills to level 3. All this was pretty basic, but the next bit is something that a lot of people do not realize, and it is that you can dissolve purple books to obtain blue ones, and you can dissolve blue ones to obtain green ones. This can be done at a loss both of books and Solent, however, the power spike you obtain will be well worth it. Next, I have a few tips regarding gear. The gearing system is fairly simple. Gear goes in quality from grey to green to blue to purple, so most people will be aiming for purple gear. However, you should not be afraid to spend resources on green and blue gear, as they can be transferred over to higher quality gear, and it is one of the best ways to get value out of your materials. That being said, you can only transfer into a new piece of gear once. So, for example, when transferring from blue to purple, you will want to upgrade the purple piece to level 6 and 27%. And only then transfer a +9 piece of blue gear. Doing so will instantly level your purple piece to +9, saving you a considerable amount of resources. Obviously, this purple gear will be a bit harder to obtain, and because of the way transfer works, it will require a bit of preparation, especially if you want to save materials. Because of this, I highly recommend focusing on blue gear in the first few weeks of the game. Good blue gear with fully upgraded traits will perform a lot better than bad purple one. Gear will have these things called traits on it, with the first one being randomly rolled when you obtain the gear, and the next 2 slots will be locked. To unlock trait slots, you will need either a copy of the exact gear or the extract from it. which is a trait extracted from that piece of gear. However, when it comes to upgrading those traits, you only need a piece of gear or an extract with the same trait. As long as the trait matches, you can try to upgrade it. If it's the same quality of gear, it will have a 100% chance to upgrade, but you can also try your luck using lower quality gear. And if it fails, this will provide you with a PT currency called blessings that can be used to increase your chance up to 100%. When you transfer enhancement levels to a new piece of gear, the traits on the old piece of gear will be converted to blessings, giving you a great head start on the new piece of gear. So ideally, before you transfer to a purple piece of gear, you also want to fully upgrade the traits on the blue gear. I know this all sounds a bit complicated. However, to simplify it, all you have to do is focus on upgrading your blue gear before transferring to purple. Once you are ready to transfer, make sure your new piece of purple gear has been upgraded to +6 and 27%. There's just one more tip that I want to give you. There are these trait unlock stones that you will end up getting. I highly advise saving them up, because you will most likely need them for archboss weapons or tier 2 weapons in the future. Each weapon will require either 400 or 600 of these if the trait it rolled by default is bad. Meaning for both of your weapons you might end up needing as much as 1200 of these stones. Since they are limited and fairly hard to get, I highly recommend not wasting them on anything else. Okay, there's one more thing that I would like to recommend. I highly recommend getting used to dodge rolling. It's much harder to do, but later on there will be a few bosses that will require you to do it properly to survive mechanics. On top of it, because it is harder to do, it will usually offer an extra benefit. And the last tip of this video, from time to time there will be an orb that spawns on the map. It will spawn randomly, usually on elevated terrain. It can be opened without any keys, and it usually gives a decent amount of very precious materials. If you are in a zone where an orb spawned, I highly recommend looking for it. That's it for the video. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. I hope this helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, if there are other tips and tricks that helped you, please share them in the comments so they can hopefully help someone else. Feel free to like and subscribe, or don't. See you in the next one, gamers.